Hey everybody, this is Doug with Artfully Rogue, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a hinged metal door. For this project I'm going to use 1¼ by 0.65 wall square tubing. Right now I'm building the outer framework and then I'm going to tack weld all the corners. I'm using a piece of angle iron to help me do just a quick corner. Not all angle iron is perfectly square, so make sure that you double check your angle iron if you're going to use this method. I'm going to tack the outside corner on all 4 corners, and then I'm going to measure to make sure the entire frame is square by measuring across diagonally this way and then measuring across diagonally this way, making sure that both measurements are exact. If they aren't, you may want to tweak it just a little bit. So now I'm just going to go ahead and finish up welding all 4 corners. Now I've got the framework done. I'm going to go ahead and do all the interior supports, and I've got my saws set up. One is for 45s and one is for straight cuts, and just makes it a little bit easier. So I put 2 supports in the center, usually 2 feet from the bottom up and 2 feet from the bottom down. Get those welded in on the inside of the frame. Don't do it on the top because you're going to be laying sheet steel on top of that, and you don't want to have any problems with the sheet steel laying on top of the framework flat. Now I've already got pieces of steel rusted up. For this process I used vinegar. There's plenty of videos out there that I've done for rusting steel. I'll put a link in the description here. And up here in the video you can see. Now I'm just measuring the sheet steel and marking it out, and then I'm going to use a shear that I picked up at Harbor Freight. If you're using sheet metal and you need to cut it, this is probably the quickest and easiest way to cut sheet metal. I've done up to I want to say 20 gauge. It's pretty hard on the blade, but it will do it. So once you cut the sheet metal, you want to make sure that you clean up the edges on the sheet metal because it will become razor sharp if you're not careful. Now I've relayed out the sheet metal on top of the framework. I'm going back and I'm tack welding it along the framework, and as you can see, I'm using a clamp to make sure that the sheet stays nice and tight to the frame. That way there's no air between the sheet metal and the frame, and you won't have any problems burning through. Now I'll do this around the entire framework of the door. Now you'll see that some pieces are overlapped, so I go back and I tack weld those. You have to be a little bit more careful because not all of those sheets are going to be welded on a piece of frame. They may be just kind of over air, for lack of a better description. And then I'll just go ahead and wrap up that here, and I put an inch foam insulation. That way it kind of helps keep the noise down. Now this particular client wanted a door latch, so I'm adding in more supports inside the frame so that we can put a door latch on. Now I put 2 on each side because we don't know what side's going to be the front, which is the back. So once I have that lined up, I'll go ahead and take the foam out, and I'll go ahead and get each side welded in so that they're nice and secure. Again, I'm going to make sure I get those grinded up, and I don't have any little weld spots that are going to cause problems with the sheet metal. And then I replace the insulation foam, which I have cut to fit. For the hinge sections, I've cut out a section of the tubing and I've stuck in a 1/2 inch plate and then welded that in. So when my hinges are getting welded on, they are actually going to be flush with the framework. And so that's something I did because I'm working within a certain dimension. You may not have to do that, but that's something that I wanted to do to keep it nice and clean. And then I just tack weld the hinges in place. Now this is a latch that I made specifically for this door. You can kind of take a look up here in the video, and I'll put a link to this door latch. But again, it's just a simple slide latch that I've used for with a railroad spike, and they're going to have to put a slot so they can slide it back and forth.
So I'd like to take a moment right now to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be making metal doors for a living. Well, On Skillshare, there are thousands of online classes that you can choose from that'll help you take products to market. And if you haven't heard, Skillshare is actually an online learning community. With the classes on Skillshare, you can actually learn new skills or expand upon the ones you already have. Believe it or not, the hardest part about making this door wasn't the construction of it, it was actually how to price it. One of the most recent classes I watched on Skillshare was called Pricing Your Work: How to Value Your Work as a Freelancer by Peggy Dean. Now, I've been doing this for quite a while and I've got a technique for pricing my work, but I always like to check out Skillshare because sometimes you have newer ideas coming in through those classes. So it's good to kind of stay on what's fresh. And I have to be honest, one of the coolest things about Skillshare is it's ad-free. So while you're watching classes, you're not interrupted by someone trying to sell you something. You watch these classes straight through, no interruptions. And new classes are added all of the time. And you can get an annual subscription for less than $10 a month. That's pretty good if you're going to try to learn something new. And because you're watching this video, the first 1,000 people to click on the link in the description below will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. You can't really go wrong with that. You get to try it for free for a short time and see if you actually like it. So if you're thinking about starting a creative business or you'd like to learn a new skill, then go check out Skillshare, because it's going to not only help you in the right direction, it may give you some new ideas. So check out Skillshare down in the description. You'd really like it. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. It is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so now. If you'd like to get notified when I do my next video, hit that bell icon wherever that might be here on the video. And if you'd like to leave a comment, leave that down below. And I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters: Judy Clothier, Funkiss Artistic Creations, Barry and Marlene Rush, and John Leddington. I'll see you in the next video.